How is Colton Wong not an all-star? I mean, like how is that possible? The guy gives and gives until he's literally concussed. How is Colton Wong not an all-star? All-star snubs aside, welcome to another edition of Bird Seeds. I'm Tara Wellman. Thanks for checking back in after a week of baseball. It kind of felt like a year of baseball. The last couple of series for the Cardinals, draining is a word that comes to mind. Mostly Chicago. In fact, I kind of don't remember anything that happened before. Chicago... have the Cardinals always played in Chicago? Because it kind of feels like it after this last week. Oh, that's right. The Padres came to St. Louis for 4 games before Chicago. I knew something happened. The Padres came into town potentially to be a nice little ride into an NL Central showdown for the Cardinals. But, then the Padres won the first 2 games of the series because baseball... that about? And then, Tommy Pham happened. Oh yes, it's far beyond time that Tommy Pham came up and made his presence known. This is a guy that's been injured maybe as many times as Jaime Garcia, and we haven't really had a chance to see his potential at the big league level. September call-up last year didn't really amount to a whole lot. This time around, though, he was exactly the spark plug that John Mozeliak hoped he would be. First big league hit, first big league home run, responsible for the winning runs in the last 2 games of the series, and responsible for inspiring Mike Matheny to completely revamp the lineup, which was confusing and weird. And I don't really want to go into that because we don't have time to dissect that decision. But, Tommy Pham, welcome to St. Louis, and thanks for the wins. The trip to Chicago was bound to be a little bit difficult in the absence of Jaime Garcia, who is going to miss at least 1 more start as he recovers from this groin strain, which meant in a 4-game series with a day-night doubleheader for games 2 and 3, things were going to get a little bit tricky. Game 1 started out looking like it was going to be a no-hitter for Jon Lester. But then, fortunately for the Cardinals, all the Cubs things happened, and the rains poured, and after a lengthy delay, it was a 6-0 victory for St. Louis in Game 1. So far, so good. Then, Tyler Lyons and Tim Cooney will wrap things up in the doubleheader. That's not exactly the 1-2 punch I would have been hoping for. To be fair to both of those guys, neither Tyler Lyons nor Tim Cooney were really the difference maker in the 2 losses that day. A lot of things went into that. Primarily, the offense was terrible, and the bullpen that has been such a strength for this team all season is showing some weaknesses, and it's coming back to haunt the team in the form of losses, not just in some struggles here and there, which has been the case most of the season. So, dropping 2 games in 1 day to the Cubs, not a good feeling going into Game 4 of the series. If there was ever a game that epitomized the phrase, snatching victory from the claws of defeat, it was Game 4. After blowing a 4-0 lead in a Michael Wacha start, which leads you to believe things are not going well, and after losing both Yadier Molina and Mike Matheny to ejections late in the game, the Cardinals were down to their last strike. Where have I heard this before? With a runner on, Johnny Peralta at the plate, a 2-run blast to left field not only gave the Cardinals a 1-run lead, I also lost my voice and scared my dog. But all's well that ends well, right? Trevor Rosenthal notched his 25th save of the year in 26 attempts, which means things are going very well for Rosie. Timeout. Is it Rosie like this or Rosie like this? Because y'all keep confusing me with changing it up on Twitter, and I don't really know which way to go with this. It's good that we don't have to vote him into the All-Star game because that spelling thing, it would be really confusing. Save number 25 ties Rosenthal for third on the Major League Baseball saves leaders list, which is great considering coming into the year we weren't quite certain what to expect out of him after last year with some success as far as results are concerned, but a roller coaster of the process. So to see him come back and be as consistent and as dominant as he has been means good things for this Cardinals team, so long as the rest of the pitching staff does their job and allows Rosie to only be used in the right situations, which seems to have been part of the difference maker for Rosenthal this year. While Trevor Rosenthal has been a bright spot in the bullpen, there are some other spots that are, well, not so bright these days due to the absence of Jordan Walden and Matt Belisle. Walden, by the way, did start throwing this week, so fingers crossed he does come back after the All-Star break. But once you get outside kind of that core four of Siegrist, Maness, Choate, and Rosenthal, it's a little hit or miss. Marcus Hatley, Mitch Harris, Miguel Sokolovich, Tuivailala, whomever is up at the time, it's a little bit of a struggle because you're not quite sure you want those guys in close games, but the Cardinals only play close games in 2015. I think it's a rule. So it's been a little bit of a struggle to kind of structure that bullpen in the right way and to use guys appropriately, not use those core four guys too much, but not overexpose the guys who aren't quite as experienced. The cracks in the armor are starting to show for this bullpen, and it will make a huge difference if we can get Jordan Walden back and eventually Matt Belisle as well, because those are guys that were having so much success that made the bullpen as a whole so successful for the majority of the season thus far. It's been a strength. Right now it's a bit of a weakness. John Mozeliak may have to find a way to approach that coming up to the trade deadline. The offense has been pretty weak in its own right as of late, which also might be something that John Mozeliak has to approach. There's not a lot of options at the minor league level that can come up and fill in the particular spots that are open right now. Although, a call-up this week against the Cubs, everyone got really excited because they thought it was finally going to be Stephen Piscotty Day. And then it was Dan Johnson. Not quite the same appeal. But he plays first base, which is where the biggest weakness is right now. Piscotty plays in the outfield. Maybe he should take some reps at first base. Maybe he should have been doing that a long time ago. But that's beside the point. The point is, right now, Matt Carpenter looks pretty awful. Colton Wong is potentially concussed after his 95th game-saving, diving web gem of the week. Without Matt Holliday, without Matt Adams, even John Jay, who isn't the power hitter that you're looking for, but was intended to be a part of this offensive structure, you're down to guys like Mark Reynolds and Randall Grichuk who, when overexposed, are not going to look very good. Johnny Peralta can't do it all on his own as much as he's going to try. So it's desperately necessary that the Cardinals get Matt Holliday back and maybe in the process figure out how to help Matt Carpenter regain some of his early season success as well. Holliday slated to potentially come back in this Pirates series, but that's not confirmed yet either. And certainly I wouldn't expect him to be at 100% as soon as he does come back. But any bit of what he was doing early in the season, hitting over 300, 417 OBP on the year, not a whole lot of home runs, but knocking the runs in and getting on base, creating some offensive opportunities, all things that led him to being voted to the All-Star game. No, not just because it's a popularity contest, but he legitimately has reasons to be there. Getting that back in any form is going to be a significant boost to this offense going into the break and beyond. Before anyone plays in the All-Star game, P.S., congrats to the Cardinals All-Stars, you guys rock. They still have to get through the Pirates in Pittsburgh, who happen to be the second best team in baseball. In fact, they're the only other team at this point with 50 wins on the year. So this is not going to be an easy series, not just because it's an NL Central rival, but because this is a team that has all of the pieces in place to knock the Cardinals around a little bit, especially when they're a little down for the count as it is. Pirates closer Mark Melancon is one of only two guys in Major League Baseball this year with more saves than Trevor Rosenthal. We know how dominant that Pirates bullpen can be. And then there's Andrew McCutchen, the pirate of all pirates. And after a dreadful first month of the season, well, he's doing what MVPs do. He's tearing it up, hitting .360 in July so far, and has really led the charge of a resurgent Pirates team. Look, these guys can smell the blood in the water. They know they're close. They know they've closed the gap. And at 4.5 games back to start the series, they may not be able to take over first place in the division, but they can do some damage. The Cardinals, on the other hand, would like to widen that gap back out a little bit heading into the break, give themselves a little bit more breathing room as they go into the second half of the season.
How much do y'all care about the All-Star game? Because I struggle with the lead up to it, the build up, the this one counts when it's a fan-voted exhibition contest. But like everyone else in the baseball world, I will watch it and maybe even talk about it on the next episode of Birdseeds.
I still want to start a writing campaign for Colton Wong as an all-star. What? He deserves to be there, okay? Don't judge me, Carol.